there's the gadget meal that I was challenged to make by Cooking with Doug. And I want to say that it was a lot of fun to try to use a couple different gadgets to make this meal. And I think they all came out pretty good. So we're going to sit down, Rick's going to sit down with me and we're going to have dinner. But I hope you liked watching the gadget challenge. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate the challenge. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to make a recipe called French onion pot roast, and I'm going to use the VitaClay crock pot. It's actually a smart, organic, multi-crock and stock pot. It does a lot of different things, but what's different about this is it's made with clay, and the clay has to be kept, the clay pot has to be kept moist while you're cooking, so it's best to make a recipe with liquid in to protect the pot. Now the pot being organic clay is one of the most healthy ways you can cook. Okay, I'm going to use a roast here. It's a certified Angus beef, boneless shoulder roast. And this is about 4 pounds. I'm going to add some other ingredients to a packet of onion soup mix. I'm going to use 3 different types of onions, red, shallots, and Vidalias. I'm going to season it a little bit with some Worcestershire sauce, and I'm going to use some broth. Also in here I chose the fat-free low sodium brand. So let me take the meat, wash it, and cut it into pieces. I'd like to make this into several pieces so that it absorbs more of the flavors of the onions, and then we'll also cut up the onions. I'll be right back. Alright, as I cut the meat into chunks, I'm going to trim off some of the fat so that we don't have any added fat here. And it's easier to me to trim after you have small pieces. Get rid of that. One of the other benefits of using this pot is that it cooks faster than a regular slow cooker. So get rid of all the tendons here and any of the extra stuff that you don't want to eat. Alright, we have a couple of sweet Vidalias here. We're going to cut them up in very thin slices because I believe the thinner slices add more flavor. I'm going to take some of the thinly sliced onions and I'm going to add them to the bottom of the clay pot. And then we're going to put the meat in on top of this. And I will serve as a little rack, kind of, in the bottom of this pot. Then we're going to put the slices of meat, or the chunks of meat I should say. I ended up having 4 nice sized chunks of meat. Okay. And the next step, I'm going to add the onion soup mix on top of them. I'm using 1 packet of Lipton onion soup mix. And you can get different flavors of this. Golden onion, French onion, I think. Sometimes they sell a beefy onion. But we have a lot of good seasonings in these mixes. I'm just going to sprinkle it around. Alright, next I'm going to take the rest of the onions, cut them up, and we'll put them in on top. Okay, here's the rest of the onions cut up now. Here's a nice red onion. Here's some more of the Vidalias in addition to the one that we have the meat resting on in the pot. And here's the real powerhouse. This is a shallot. And this is a tiny little form of an onion. But let me tell you, after cutting all these onions up, that's the first one that made me cry. It's really strong, and we don't want to use a whole lot of that, but it is an important part of the flavors in this. Okay, let's get all of these in here. We're going to sprinkle them all around. And we're going to put enough liquid in this pot so that everything shares its flavors while it's cooking. When you're done, it's almost like a French onion soup, but the benefit is it has a nice roast beef in it. Now, we're going to add the liquid next. We're going to take the Worcestershire sauce, and we're going to add some of that next. I don't usually measure this. I'm just going to add enough shakes that we get flavor all across that meat in there. And then we're going to take the collagen beef broth. And if you have one that you made homemade, that's even better. But for this recipe, I'm just going to take a shortcut here, and I'm going to add 32 ounces of beef broth. I'm going to spread that around so that all the onions have some of the broth on. Now if you take a look in here, you can see that the beef broth came all the way up to the top of all the contents here. So we don't have to worry about not having enough liquid in this pot that we want to keep moist. Alright, let's put the lid on and set it. Now the lid is set up with little vent holes so that the steam can come out. It's a little bit different than the crock pots you might be used to, but if you give this a try, you'll find out the flavors are fantastic. Let me plug it in and get it started for you. Okay, I plugged it in. I just want to show you the side panel here where it talks about the multi-crock and stock pot functions. So you can see all the pictures of the types of food that this makes, and it's really a nice pot for different textures too. It makes rice and stews and all kinds of things. Lots of veggies, and being made of organic clay, it's a real important pot to have in your kitchen. Alright, let's set this pot. So let's set it to cook 4 pounds of meat. Okay, I'm going to set it for slow. And then we can adjust the amount of hours. So I'm going to set this for 5 hours. Now normally I would put this pot roast into the crock pot for 8 hours on slow, but I believe this will be just enough time to cook this meat perfectly so it's nice and tender. Okay, we're going to do some other things in the meantime while the beef is cooking, and we'll be back in 5 hours. I'm going to use one of my favorite gadgets now, the Hot Logic Mini, and I'm going to use this to make a nice recipe for stuffed sweet twisters. And these are the twisters. These are nice red peppers. They're sweet with no heat. I'm going to slice them lengthwise and make a beautiful stuffing for these with ricotta cheese, garlic, some salsa, an egg, mozzarella cheese, a little feta cheese, and some golden raisins. So let me show you how to put that together, and we'll let that cook for a couple hours too. Alright, we're going to make the mixture using ricotta cheese first. I'm going to use about half of a 15-ounce container. I have measured about a half a cup of mozzarella cheese. We're going to take some already chopped garlic to make this a little bit quicker. And squirt some of that in there. We didn't forget his garlic this time, Bat. Take some golden raisins. My secret ingredient every time I use ricotta cheese. Just going to use part of a box. We're going to crack an egg in there. And mix that up. I'm going to use the 6-cup Pyrex dish, which fits into the Hot Logic Mini appliance. And the Hot Logic Mini cooks like a slow cooker. It has a warming tray on the bottom. It's an insulated bag, and it cooks as long as you leave it plugged in, which we're going to treat it as a slow cooked item today for about 4 hours. I'm going to take the twisters. Did you ever see these peppers before? They're really nice, and I'm going to cut these lengthwise, take the stems and seeds out, and then we're going to lay them into the Pyrex dish. Alright, here's the peppers. I cut them in half. You can see they make a nice stuffing vessel here. Let's see if we can fit them all in. So we'll have 4 nice little boats filled with cottage cheese stuffing. Alright, let's see if we can fit this in. Take the biggest one first here. This makes a side dish or a nice little thing that you can take for lunch, perhaps. Alright, we'll start with that, and we'll even them out a little bit after we get them all filled. These kind of remind me of stuffed shells, but without as much carbs. Alright, that amount worked out perfectly for 4 nice halves. Now I'm going to take a little salsa. You can also use like Italian, you could also use Italian style tomatoes that are chopped up, but I just really want to get a little tomatoey topping on that. Something like that. And then I decided to add some feta cheese crumbles. These are French style feta crumbles, and these are oh so delicious, so creamy. I'm just going to add a little bit on there for almost like a garnish, but it's going to give that little zip of cheese flavor that's so good. Just crumble it, and I just push it in a little bit. Alright, I'm going to put the lid on this. We're going to cook it while we're making some other dishes today. Logic Mini, one of my friends. See, here's the warming tray that's inside. I'm just going to set this right in there, zip it up, and plug it in. And we'll be back to check that in about 4 hours. The next part of our gadget meal is going to be made in the Cosori Slow Cooker. And how big is this again? 6.5. This is a rather large slow cooker. It's 6.5 quarts. So the oval shape is a nice feature if you have some pieces of meat that are long, like a pork tenderloin or something like that. It's not necessary for the one we're using today. It's not necessary for what we're doing today, but it's a nice slow cooker to have in your arsenal of gadgets. Okay, here's another kind of gadget that I'm going to use to make this. It's a Reynolds Kitchen Slow Cooker liners, and this makes cleanup so nice and easy. All you do is lift the bag out of there when you're finished cooking. So let's put a bag in before we start. Alright, here we go. It's a nice long shaped bag so that it fits oval style cookers just as easily as round ones. Alright, what we're going to make here today is butternut squash soup. And I'm going to use some already prepared butternut squash because I'm making so many items for one video here today. Normally I would cut these up, but I'm going to use 2 packs. Each of these packs is 20 ounces, so I think that's about the right amount for the amount of soup that we want to make today. Now you can cook this on your cooktop, but slow roasting things is always nice. I'm going to wash these off and add them to the cook pot. I'll be right back. Okay, let's start filling it up. There's 20 ounces. And here's the rest. Another 20 ounces. I also chunked up a Vidalia onion. Get that all situated in here. Now for convenience, I also have a bag of shredded carrots. They have lots of vitamins in this soup. These are ready for salads. We're just going to put them right in and cook them along with the butternut squash. Then I have a container of garden veggie broth, and this is fat-free, low sodium, 35% less sodium than normal, which is important for me. And this is a container that holds 32 ounces. So I'm going to add that. And we want this to be cooking in plenty of liquid, but not too much that we can't make it a thick soup without adding heavy cream and other additives. So let's see what you find here. It's about halfway covered with liquid. I'm going to add a little bit more. I think I'll take the 32 ounce container and add half of water. Something about 2 cups of water. Okay, we're going to put the lid on and turn this on. Now you choose your cook mode, low, medium, or high. I'm going to put it on high. And then I'm also going to set it for 4 hours cook time. Alright, I'll show you the progress as we go here today, and hopefully all of our components of this meal will come finished at the same time. When this is finished cooking, we're going to use the immersion blender, the Aicock Immersion Blender, to make this into a nice smooth creamy soup, and we're going to do that without adding any heavy cream that you might get when you buy this kind of soup in the store. So it's going to be a very healthy version. Alright, we'll be back later. Alright, let's take a look. The cooking has finished on this VitaClay pot. Let's take a look at the roast beef and the onions. Wow. Doesn't that look good? Alright. Let's check on the progress of the butternut squash soup. We're at the end of the cooking cycle on this too. Now we have soft carrots and butternut squash with some onions, and we're going to blend that up with the immersion blender. Perfect. Alright, we have another thing to prepare here while the butternut squash soup is getting blended. I'm going to use the Cook's Essentials air fryer to make a little dessert, and the dessert's going to be apple crescents. So we're going to cut up the apples into little slices, roll them up in a crescent roll with some brown sugar, and then we're going to bake them in the air fryer. And I'll show you how to do that. First we take the crescent rolls, Pillsbury, regular old crescent rolls, popping fresh. And I'm going to pop that open and spread them out in their little triangles. Alright, now you can see the triangle marks on there. We're going to add some brown sugar along the way here. Just sprinkle it on so each one has some. I'm going to take a piece of aluminum foil and I'm going to line the bottom of the air fryer basket. The basket I have has holes in the bottom, so I'm just going to press a little aluminum foil in there to keep the dough and sugar from falling through the holes. Just fits in nice and tight like that. We still want the vents to have air flowing through here, so I don't want to block any of the air holes that way. But I just don't want the sugar to burn and drip on the bottom. Okay, I have a peeled apple here. I have a peeled apple, and I'm just going to take a nice size wedge and put it into each one of the wide end parts of the triangles. We don't want to make the apple pieces too thick, because when the crust is finished browning, we want the apple to be done cooking as well. All right, we're going to roll up each of the triangles with the apple in the fat part, just like a regular crescent roll. And tuck the brown sugar inside, like that. And then we're going to lay it in the bottom of the air fryer. Alright, I'm going to do that to all 8 pieces.
Real quickly, you can have a nice little sweet treat for dessert.
Here's how it looks in the air fryer basket. We're going to put it in the air fryer. And we're going to cook this we're going to try 15 minutes, but we'll keep an eye on it to make sure about how it's browning. And it should be about 300, I'm going to make the temperature 340 degrees. Alright, let's get that going. And we'll start getting the soup and set the table. Okay, the air fryer's finishing up. I had to lower the temperature to 270 degrees because the little crescent rolls started getting too brown. But I wanted the apples to cook thoroughly, so let me show you. I think they're finished now. Look how nice they look. Golden brown, and the brown sugar has cooked out a little bit around the bottoms, so this is going to be a great dessert. We're going to set that aside and let it cool off while we get the rest of the dinner on the table. We have the butternut soup here in the Cosori Slow Cooker, and remember this was in a bag. So we're going to lift it out with the bag, and you can see all the pieces of squash and carrot in there. And I'm just going to place it into our vessel that we're going to blend it. Once it's in there, I'm going to slice some holes in this. Okay, now all the squash and carrots and onions are in here with some of the liquid, and I'm just going to use the Aicock Immersion Blender to blend this into a nice creamy soup. Alright. Can you look down into the pitcher? And you can see how nice it's blending here. So we have a nice creamy soup. I want to show you that real close. See how nice and creamy it is? We didn't have to add any heavy cream or anything else. The immersion blender did the job. So we're going to pour that into bowls and we're going to get supper on the table. To garnish the plate, I have some rainbow carrots here. So I'm using my little gadget, which is a carrot sharpener, and it's a carrot peeler. So I'm just going to take the outside edge off this carrot with the peeler, which is on the bottom side. There. I don't know if you ever had rainbow carrots. They come in yellow, purple, orange, kind of shades like that. You can use this for parsnips or anything else that you want to make soup out of. Then you just take them and sharpen them as if you were doing a pencil. And when you do it continuously, it makes a nice little curl. And it's a nice way to garnish the plate. And it's edible. It's an edible little flower. So I like to do a couple of those using one of my original little gadgets. See, the rainbow carrots have yellow and orange in the middle of the purple, and they really make a cute little veggie tray, or you can top soups with them or anything that you like to dress up. That's about as inexpensive of a gadget as you can find. People will wonder how you did that. Let's do a yellow one too. If you just keep putting pressure on it, it just keeps curling. Is it that sweet? Alright. Alright, let's move on and get the beef out of the clay pot, the VitaClay. Alright, let's get the beef out of the clay pot. Now take a look in there. Look at all those beautiful onions. You can see we had enough moisture to keep that pot healthy while we're cooking today. So let's take out some of the chunks of meat. They're kind of falling apart. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Is that beautiful? And then we'll dress it up with some of the nice onions. And I used this tray that has a moat around it because I think we want to have some of the nice juices in here too. It's like gravy. It's like French onion soup. French onion pot roast. Wow. All right. I have another one to open up. Let's open up the Hot Logic. The Hot Logic has the stuffed sweet twister peppers. That's hot. Let's take a look how this came out. Ooh. Oh boy, that smells good. Oh boy, that smells good. Take a look at that. You can smell all the cheeses on there. All right, I think it's time to pour the soup into a bowl. And I have 2 bowls here. I'm going to pour the butternut squash soup. Look how nice and thick and creamy. And then we're going to garnish this with a little balsamic glaze. This is vinegar that has been cooked into a glaze. And we're going to put a couple raw pumpkin seeds on this for a nice fall soup. Alright, I'm going to get the dessert out too since everything's on the table. And this was what I made in the Cook's Essentials air fryer. These are the apple crescent rolls that we're going to have for dessert. Okay, now I get to show you all the things I made with our gadgets all day today. And I hope you liked this video. Doug, I want to thank you for challenging me to use gadgets to make a nice meal, and it was a lot of fun. And now I'm just going to sit down with Rick and eat dinner, and then I'll explain the challenge for the next group of people.
I'm hungry.
You're hungry? Does it smell good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here's this. This might help get the meat out. You ready to eat? What do you want first here?
I guess I'll have some meat.
All right, let me help you. Want some nice onions for that? Want to dry pepper on your plate?
What's that spoon for?
To help scoop out the peppers. I don't know if it's a good tool
Take
for
a whole
that.
one or what?
Yeah, take a whole one. Oh, good. Can you give me one too? Great. Thank you.
Now what?
Okay, I'm going to taste the soup first, though. Look how creamy. Mmm. How about the peppers?
All right.
Mmm. That's really good. Tastes like stuffed shells, kind of, doesn't it? Mmm. Okay. Now I'm talking your language. The meat.
I like the meat.
Boy, it's really falling apart, isn't it? Look at that. Want some more onions on your meat?
I'm ready for now.
Okay.
What's this here? Dessert?
That's dessert.
Dessert or dessert?
Dessert.
Desert?
Wow, that looks tasty.
I shouldn't eat it till I'm done.
Go ahead. I just want to taste this stuff for the people. Ready? Cheers. Mmm. That's easy. It doesn't even take 5 minutes.
Didn't it? Oh, the air fryer.
Mm-hmm.
Did you cook an on foil in there?
Yeah.
Did you use mine or yours?
Yours.
Use mine.
I used mine. I knew that would get him excited. If I used a brand new air fryer.
I think mine's still better than yours, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're supposed to compare it today, weren't we?
Mm. Okay, I'm going to finish the meat first. Alright, so all the gadgets we used, right? The Smart Organic Clay Pot did a great job with the French onion roast beef. And the Hot Logic, one of our favorites, huh? That always does good, and that cooked the peppers, and the cheese inside the peppers got nice and fluffy.
Do people get a discount if they buy that from you?
20%.
Hot Logics?
Hot Logic.
How?
By going to the link that I provided, and also using the coupon code Kathy. That's easy, right? And then Cosori Slow Cooker. That's one of your favorites, right?
I like it.
So that took care of the butternut squash. Squash. And what else? We used a little carrot sharpener. And the immersion blender, the Aicock Immersion Blender. That thing's powerful. It doesn't just make milkshakes. And to cut out all the heavy cream and fat that you put into a soup like that is really a plus. So, that wraps it up, right?
I don't like people watching me eat.
Oh, yes you do. You're the mukbang king. He likes mukbang. Okay, I'm going to say the rules. Okay. Okay, guys. Now, part of my challenge was to pick 2 people that I thought would be good candidates to use all the gadgets, or some that would be candidates to use some of the gadgets they have in their kitchen. And the rules for this challenge are that you use at least 2 gadgets, and Doug said he would like to see up to 6 being used for the meal that you create. And it has to be somebody that's doing a cooking show, cooking channel right now. And the first person that comes to mind is Tyler, which is Kondrla's Kitchen. So Tyler, would you like to take this challenge? I think you could do a great job with this. And the challenge has to be completed within 3 weeks. I'll put the rules for the challenge in my description. But then we have another candidate we've been thinking about. Let me say it.
What do you win?
Oh. Come on now.
Hmm?
What's the other one?
FoodFuelTv.
FoodFuelTv. This is another.
I believe he's Chad. He's new. What's up, Chad?
So Chad, would you like to take this challenge? I think
Why not?
that'd be great if you do.
You put a link to both these guys
Right.
in the description.
That's right. We'll put links there. And I hope you both decide to take the challenge because it's a lot of fun and you end up with a good meal. Right?
You only need 2 gadgets, right? At least?
You only need 2.
But you can use as many as you want.
Oh, the other
Gadgets.
one constraint is you can't use your stovetop. So just remember that. Okay, you think you can do that? Okay. Thank you again, Doug. This was really fun. I appreciate the opportunity. So thanks for watching, everyone. And please subscribe.